It's hard at the start. You do a lot of quotes, your area's a lot bigger. There were times where I'd get home at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, have a shower, a lead would come through. It's only like 10 minutes away, so I'd chuck my uniform back on and go back out. Yeah, my name's George Santalucia. I'm from Jim's Mowing Tootgarook on the Mornington Peninsula. So I've been with Jim's for 2 stints. Yep. One time for 3 years in 2012 to 2015. Didn't do very well. Tried to learn from my mistakes and I came back March of 25 and this time's been a hell of a lot better. I think I probably lacked a little bit of maturity and also I probably thought it was going to be easier than it was. And then by the time that the business was in trouble, I think I was a little bit burnt out and then just wasn't quite in a position to wrestle it back. I mean, there's a number of things I did wrong now looking back. I don't think I used the gym support network very well. I kept to myself a little bit, probably too much, whereas this time I seek out people who know a little bit more than me. Advice, I try to do everything right, be where I am when I say I'm going to be. If I'm late, I call, and yeah, it worked. Pretty much everything you learn in training, it works. Yeah, I said to Dan yesterday, you always enjoy it a bit more when you're making money, but I always loved the work. It's always been my favourite job. I love the fact that I'm in multiple locations in one day, which might sound weird because you're driving around. I like the fact that if I need something from Bunnings, I just go to Bunnings and get it. Yeah, it's always been my favourite job. I love it. I mean, there's obviously ups and downs. Today's quite hot, not ideal to work in, and then in winter you got a bit of rain, but you take the good with the bad. Predominantly, I'm doing mowing, gardening, gutters. I haven't touched any landscaping. That was something I tried to take on last time and it wasn't quite for me. I think it used to always take a lot longer than I thought, so I would constantly underquote them and then let down regulars because I was at a job for 3 days longer than I thought I was going to be. So yeah, pretty much just in and out. I do big cleanups. I'm sort of starting to move away from them now that I've got a pretty healthy regular base. I just simply don't have the time. I should know that. I think it's probably between sort of 80 and 100, I'd say, regulars. I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to build is a large regular base. So in the quieter months, in the cooler months that I'm still busy. My initial thought was I was always going to work solo. And then that sort of at the start of spring, got taken out of my hands. So I've put on a full timer and also a couple of days a week, I'll have a third person if it works with their uni schedule. So it got big quicker than I thought, so no complaints there, obviously. Yeah, I bought 22 regulars off a franchisee, Charlie, who was awesome. And then another guy was selling his business and I purchased a portion of his customers off him, I think another 10 or 12. And then just, obviously leads, just being approached on the street, just neighbours recommending me. And my first thing is when I go to a lead, I try and find some common ground, whether it be like a car, their surname, their nationality, being half Greek, half Italian. A lot of those nationalities have holiday homes on the Mornington Peninsula. So where you're from in Greece, where you're from in Italy, this is where my family's from. And you're kind of in before you sort of even talk about the garden. And the other thing too that is just being there on time, I think has worked. And my theory was that there's probably nothing quite proprietary about what we do. So the difference has to be in the service. I feel like most mowing quotes are going to be between say $100 and $300, and like, can people really, if they get good service, can they really be bothered shopping around for that amount when it's probably going to be $10 or $20 difference? Because we're accountable to somebody. I have had, actually just last week, a lady who came through the call centre said that her regular guy just stopped coming and she should have called Jim's a while ago. For that reason, I said, well, it's because we're accountable. Like, I currently hold a 5-star rating and I really don't want to let it, it's going to break my heart if I lose it. Yeah, I on sort of social media, I follow some of the lawn mowing contractors page, and I actually saw a post that Dan made, and the responses to that, just, I guess, even my employee, when he first started, said, oh, what percentage do you pay Jim? I was like, there's no percentage. I said, it's roughly around about $800 a month, and then $18 a lead. At the start, I took a lot of leads. Now I don't take quite so many. So I found as I've got busier, I'm actually paying less. So yeah, that would be the biggest misconception, that it's skewed towards Jim when it's not. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's gotten, like I said, a lot bigger, a lot faster than I thought. I thought I would probably make a little bit more than what I was making beforehand when I was working for someone, and I would probably do that for a year, 18 months. And I think within about 3 months, I was probably doubling that. And now, I mean, honestly, most days I probably make more in a day than I used to in a week. Oh, pretty much what I said earlier, like just being in multiple locations every day, being able to, I love coffee and no one stops me from getting 4 coffees a day. So yeah, that freedom of being able to stop, or, you know, like if it's 35 degrees and it's getting a bit too much, I can just, you know, make some calls. Hey, it's too hot. Do you mind if I come tomorrow? You know, whereas if you're employed, you can't do that. If you follow the system, I'd say you're far more likely than unlikely to be really successful. I think if you think it's going to be easy, like I did the first time, you probably get a bit of a wake-up call. It provides you with a great lifestyle, but it's hard at the start. You do a lot of quotes, your area's a lot bigger. There were times where I'd get home at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, have a shower, a lead would come through. It's only like 10 minutes away, so I'd chuck my uniform back on and go back out. You know, stuff like that is, you know, not ideal. I've got 2 young kids, but you just have to do it. If you want to grow fast and like I said, be seen as the reliable guy who they don't want to shop for another quote, like that's just the things you've got to do. Yeah, I mean, I don't work particularly long days anymore. Now that I've got an employee, I get to my first job at 7. I'm usually home by 2, 3 sometimes. If Clint can't help, I'm usually home by maybe 4. So they go to bed about 8 o'clock. So it gives me a fair few hours with them to play and for them to jump all over me. And it's been ideal, you know. The community Facebook pages, right. I put exactly what I was looking for. I said, you know, at the start, it probably might only be 2 or 3 days a week. You know, I'm flexible with days. I said anyone's welcome, age, gender. And I got multiple responses. And believe it or not, I chose Clint because his profile picture had kids in it. So I messaged him first, and it turned out he had a fair bit of experience, and he's been massive for me. He's allowed me to grow. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're honest in the ad and say, hey, this is, you know, what I can offer right now, hopefully it gets larger. Yeah, I guess if you're honest, that if you're going to promise 40 hours a week from the start and you can't deliver, you're probably going to, you know, let people down.